Hey there folks, I'm Blunty, and if you're a subscriber, or perhaps just a big fan of the diminutive yet astonishingly good PENTAX Q system camera, you might have caught the video last week where I unboxed a sweet-ass limited edition PENTAX Q7 Premium kit. Within that kit was the 08 wide zoom lens, the newest lens added to the Q system, and a lens I've been eagerly awaiting a chance to play with since it hit shelves earlier this year. Bewilderingly, I could never find a proper review of this lens. Even a halfway decent user report in a forum or something was difficult to find. So here I come to fill in the blanks on this little wonder for all my fellow Q shooters out there. So, basics first. It's got a focal length range of 3.8 to 5.9mm. On the Q7, that means a 17.5 to 27mm equivalent in full frame terms. And if you're on the original PENTAX Q or the Q10 model with their slightly smaller sensors, it's just a little bit longer with full frame equivalencies of 21 to 33mm. The lens has an aperture of f3.7 to f4, and like all the autofocusing Q lenses, it features built-in leaf shutter and a neutral density filter, which is awesome. Now, if you're new to ultra-wide-angle lenses, this may not sound like a significant zoom range. I mean, there's not many numbers between 3.8 and 5.9, right? Well, focal length can start to get a bit deceptive when you're this wide. It can actually make a significant difference in your field of view. And if you're a seasoned Q shooter, chances are you've got the very fun 03 fisheye lens. Why wouldn't you? It's awesome fun. And while that is a little wider again at 3.2mm, the big difference here with the 08 is the almost complete lack of image distortion. Where the fisheye, being a fisheye, will give you that iconic bulging distortion, the wide zoom is a much more sophisticated beastie. It has an aspherical element to kill off much of the distortion inherent in very wide-angle lenses. Then there's low dispersion elements and extra low dispersion elements that all work in concert to correct the chromatic aberrations throughout the entire zoom range and deliver an uncommonly sharp image. In non-camera nerd speak, all that boils down to mean this is actually an exceptionally good lens. And I mean exceptionally good. Not just good for a little lens on a little camera, but a truly remarkable lens in its own right by anybody's standards. And it really should be, seeing as it's the highest price lens in the Q system so far. Now, before now, I'd tell anyone who'd ask that the 06 telephoto zoom was easily the best lens on the Q system and my personal favourite to shoot with. But the 08 might just be taking that crown away. I was having a blast shooting with the wide zoom. It handles wonderfully well. The autofocus is fast and nailed it every time. The manual focus, although the focus ring is thinner and a bit looser feeling than I like, it's also easy and predictable in use, and the whole focusing mechanism is internal. The images coming out of it are utterly tack sharp, highly detailed right across the frame, and with only the very faintest of vignetting at the corners, which you really only see in the RAW files, by the way, as so long as you've upgraded your camera's firmware to support the new lens, the in-camera processing corrects for this anyway. The colours and contrast are superb. Though, as you may have picked up by now, I really love shooting my Q with a customised high contrast black and white in-camera filter. It's always position number one on the quick dial on the front of my cameras. But if I show you these pre-dawn long exposure shots, well, you tell me how these tones look. 'Cause you know, I'm far too modest to suggest that they look friggin' magnificent. And all that fancy optical engineering I mentioned earlier, it really does do a near flawless job at keeping chromatic aberrations and fringing entirely suppressed. It is an ultra-wide-angle lens, so there's always going to be some flaring, but it too is surprisingly well controlled. Not eliminated, but controlled. But if you're going to grab this lens, I really would advise snatching up the lens hood with it. Sadly, not included as standard. Probably should be, but it's not. But it does help a lot at keeping contrast punchy when you're dealing with bright side lights and the like. For video, it's a great option. Now, the PENTAX Q's video quality won't ever really blow you away, but if used carefully, it can be surprisingly good. Unless you try to use image stabilization in video, where it gets real janky. But with a lens this wise, you don't need any stabilization. So now the 08 is my go-to lens for sucking in video on my Q7. If you shoot architecture, welcome to Lust Town. Love shooting indoors? Say hi to your new best friend. If you shoot landscapes, you'll adore this lens. If you shoot street, well, then you're going to have a frightening and unnatural love for this lens. And while its higher than usual price tag for a Q system lens makes it harder for me to say that every Q shooter should own one of these lenses, like I say about the 06 telephoto, it's also such a sublimely nice ultra-wide-angle lens that I really do have to suggest that every truly passionate Q enthusiast should be thinking very hard about getting one in their kit bag. Perhaps start dropping heavy hints to loved ones and family about your birthday that's coming up, or Christmas or something. Show them this video and tell them Blunty said you need it. You need it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.